What's up, Burrito? Shade Tree Surgeon here, and I am in the middle of, by God, West Virginia. I usually, when we do a jump cut like this and I'm in the middle of nowhere, West Virginia, or other parts unknown, it's because I've decided that it's been a little too long since I've completely lost my mind and decided to take a sketchy motorcycle way too far, or maybe just get a sketchy motorcycle in the middle of butt Egypt and try to ride it back home. You know what? Sometimes you just gotta step in front of the bus just to see what happens. Well, this time it's not a sketchy motorcycle. It's not even a mobile meth lab. This time, it's a car. Sitting behind me is the Spanish Inquisition, because nobody expects this car, the Mercury Grand Marquis. Surprise, fear, ruthless efficiency. These are not adjectives that you use to describe the Mercury Grand Marquis. The words you use to describe this car are more like... you could use exciting words to describe this car. You could if you tried. V8 engine, rear wheel drive, dual exhaust. Actually, yeah, that's about it. I think I'm out of exciting words to use to describe the Mercury Grand Marquis. And while those are all actually exciting words for a car, this car is actually much, much less than the sum of those parts. But that absolutely is not what makes this car interesting. What makes this car interesting is how uninteresting it really is. And the fact that this vehicle behind me is just a piece de resistance. A four-wheeled rubber, plastic, and steel gasoline-powered kinetic art dedicated to the death of the middle class. While the death of the American middle class, the death of the American dream, you go ahead and take your pick. All right, now let's see if we can get this car out of here. I was kind of risking it all for this scenic view, you know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Now, ostensibly, the Mercury Grand Marquis is just a rebadged Ford Crown Victoria. But pretty much everything Mercury did is just a rebadged Ford, pretty much since the 1960s on anyway. It's a concept that seems ridiculous in the year 2025 for a couple of different reasons. One is because the consumer just has access to so much more information. And two, it's because the consumer has so much less money. Lee Iacocca very famously saved Chrysler in the 1980s with the K car.
For too long now, America has been taking a beating at the gas pump.
No strings attached. No extra option packages to buy. Automatic transmission at no extra cost.
Wheel drive Dodge Aries K and Plymouth Reliant K give you the highest gas economy, lowest prices in 6-passenger 2-doors, 4-doors, and wagons. Yankee
ingenuity is still alive and well.
For protection on the new generation K car.
There's room for you in a K car.
We believe in America.
If everybody in the U.S. drove a K car, we wouldn't have to import a single drop of OPEC oil for gasoline.
We got rid of 13 imports for 13 K cars, right? Right!
America's not going to be pushed around anymore.
Super K. Dodge Aries and Plymouth Reliant. You won't find a more straightforward deal anywhere.
Chrysler leads the way. Which was a very effective four-wheeled contraceptive that our man Lee managed to spread out across over 50 different models. You know, they gave Lee Iacocca a bunch of awards for that, right? For the whole Chrysler K car thing. I don't know why he got any awards. Old Lee back then definitely spearheaded the movement of turning every single vehicle into a shapeless, soulless, kidney bean-shaped suppository. You look at most cars that are available in 2025, and sometimes it's hard to even tell them apart. Lee Iacocca is obviously a super smart guy, so I'm not trying to take that away from him, but he just doesn't get enough hate, in my opinion, for the horrors he helped inflict upon the art form of automobiles. I'm a certified Lee Iacocca hater. I mean, kind of. I don't know, he did a lot of cool stuff too. Anyway, it's complicated. The whole K-car concept thing was not new. Lee Iacocca had been pulling that same shit for years, and he first started doing it in the 1960s with Ford and Mercury. Under Lee Iacocca's watchful eye, the Ford Mustang became the Mercury Cougar. Just a real quick aside of the Mercury Cougar, because this car got passed around like a twink at San Quentin, and calling it just a Mustang rebadge is unfair, but only unfair because it had way less identity than that.
Savage, like a cat.
Mercury Cougar XR7, like nobody else's car.
For its first couple model years, yeah, it was just a rebadged Mustang, but then Ford decided to upscale it and move the Cougar name to the Ford LTD platform for a couple years. But just as the Ford Gran Torino was a high-performance option package for the Ford LTD Coupe, the Mercury Cougar was just a performance package for the Mercury Montego, which was just a rebadged Ford LTD. But Mercury pretty quickly dropped the Montego name and just started calling all of their rebadged Ford Torinos, which the Ford Torino was just an optioned LTD, but now by Mercury, they were all called Mercury Cougars. Are you guys keeping up? Don't spend too much time thinking about what I just said, because Ford pretty quickly split the Cougar into two different cars, with the base model Cougar sticking with the LTD chassis and the optioned out Cougar XR7 being moved to the Lincoln Mark III chassis, which made the XR7 basically a Thunderbird because the Lincoln Mark III was a two-door coupe built on the same chassis as the four-door Landau Thunderbird from the 60s. But it doesn't stop there. In the 1980s, Ford downsized the LTD and moved it to the mid-size Ford Granada platform, which was the spiritual grandfather of the modern Ford Taurus. Following suit, the base model Cougar also moved to the Granada platform, but the Cougar XR7 stuck with the Thunderbird Lincoln-based full-size body-on-frame design, but also that didn't last long. The gangbang continues for the Boar Cougar. Now, Ford axed the base model Cougar and just applied Cougar XR7 to all models and moved the Cougar over to the Fox body Mustang chassis. So after that entire roller coaster ride, the Cougar was once again just a rebadged Mustang that was pretending to be almost as luxurious as the Lincoln Mark VII, which in turn, the Lincoln Mark VII was pretending it wasn't just a rebadged Mustang with some weird luxury options. Don't worry though, because that also didn't last very long, because the Cougar and the Thunderbird and eventually the Lincoln Mark VIII were all put on a completely new platform called the MN12. The Thunderbird and Cougar in 1988 and the Mark VIII in 93. Obviously it had new sheet metal, but what really made it special was that it had independent rear suspension to compete with European sport coupes. It was the only rear-wheel drive American car that had independent rear suspension besides the Corvette, and even the Mustang wouldn't get standard independent rear suspension until 16 years later in 2015. Regardless though, it wasn't the star of the show. That honor still went to Lincoln with the double overhead camshaft aluminum block V8, and the Mercury Cougar was still just a copy and paste version of another car, the Thunderbird, but sold at a premium for sales room floor snake oil luxury, with the luxury being in big ol' air quotes there. Now, the only time in its lifetime, the only time the Mercury Cougar was closest to being its own car, to finally having some sort of brand identity and not just a copy and paste version of another vehicle, was its complete redesign in 1999. While, in my opinion, this is arguably one of the worst iterations of the Cougar, it's the only time where it actually got to stand on its own. It was a front-wheel drive Econo box that looked like a Temu Mitsubishi Eclipse. It was sold as what was apparently a European-style sports coupe, but the chassis was mostly stolen from the not-so-fire-breathing Ford Contour. A sad end to a sad story.
We are looking for a man in a new Mercury Cougar, exactly like this one. He's a dangerous double agent and a master of disguise.
Haven't seen him.
The Mercury Cougar was a car that tried to convince people for its entire life that it was something special, and the minute, just the very second, it actually got to stand on its own 2 feet and got its own identity, it failed spectacularly. Anyway, back to the Mercury at hand, which is the Grand Marquis. And of course, the Crown Victoria became the Mercury Marquis and Grand Marquis. Now, Ford already had a luxury line of vehicles in Lincoln, which, of course, Lincolns are also just rebadged Fords, but that's a whole different story that we're not going to get into today. The crazy part of this is just how many Americans back in the 1960s had extra money. Luxury brands of almost everything, from cars to watches to perfume to butt plugs, have always existed. But the concept of a middle-priced luxury, like luxury light, this was a concept that really got brought about by end of the World War II and 1950s and the 1960s, and everybody kind of having extra money. The middle class was so large and so powerful that Ford was like, okay, we can take more money from these people. We're taking money from them, but we can take more money from them. We're not taking enough money. Well, Lee Iacocca, how do we figure out how to squeeze some more dollars out of these guys? And Lee Iacocca says, I got you, fam. Just put some different sheet metal on cars that already exist, lie to people and tell them that it makes them special, charge more money for it, and boom. Lee Iacocca, winner of the official Polished Turd Lifetime Achievement Award. Lee Iacocca, the official president of Planet Piss. Because he pisses on your boots and he tells you it's raining. That's what that one was supposed to be. Lee Iacocca, the recipient of... I just have a joke about a parrot that wraps its cock around a branch because it has no legs written down for that one. Yeah, we'll skip that one. It was late when I wrote this, okay? Hey, hello, we interrupt this video that you think is about cars, but I'm a motorcycle guy, so we gotta stick motorcycles in here. This is just a reminder that in 48 hours, that's 2 days, we are pulling a raffle ticket for this custom Harley-Davidson Dynaback there. 100% of the proceeds go directly to charity. There are 2 ways to enter, either by entering the raffle or by signing up for the beta testing for Orion. Both of those links are down below. That bike could be your bike. And not only that, but every single dollar from that is going to help foster kids who have aged out of the foster care program and become homeless. Anyway, back to the Mercury. The middle class was so strong back in the 1960s that companies could come up with a whole ass other brand that bridged the luxury gap. Luxury light. Pretty wild by today's standards. Mercury, much like the American middle class, has been dying a slow death since its very inception, with random fits and spurts of excellence that randomly hit out of nowhere. Yes, I'm aware of the Mercury Marauder, okay? They had a few other cars, but Ford basically whittled Mercs down to just the Cougar and the Grand Marquis by the 1980s. Under the name Marauder back in the day, and of course the rebirth of the Marauder on the Panther platform with double overhead camshaft V8. You know, Mercury had like a little bit of performance stuff going on in the 70s, but like really not much. And besides that last grasp at glory in the 2000s, by the 80s, the Cougar was definitely just like an uglier version of the Thunderbird, and they weren't trying to put any kind of performance aspect to it at all. Mercuries are luxury cars for people who chain smoke Pall Malls in their luxury car from the very first day they buy it. You really look at it, it's just butt fucking insane that this car got made all the way till 2011. They had to be only still rolling out these Mercuries for just those last few diehard dudes out there who still had some sort of weird misplaced brand loyalty and really thought that Mercury was like a classy brand. People just know too much now. You can't get away with shit like this anymore. There's 15-year-old anime ladyboys out there with online Fox personas who know more about the history of automobile manufacturing than anybody watching this video right now. And that might only be because some Jewish space laser that irradiated them in the womb infected them with some sort of turbo autism, or maybe it was just Tylenol. I don't know. Does a Stein own Tylenol? Who owns that? Anyway, what I'm saying is you can't pull that trick anymore. All of the information is available all the time, all at once. If you try to sell little Colton, the gender fluid Fox Dragon, a Mercury, that kid is going to obliterate that salesman with his their hyper-specific autistic automobile knowledge. Back in the day, man, you could sell old Jimmy Lawson a Mercury, no problem. You know old Jimmy, he works down at the shoelace factory, and he just finished paying off his 10-year mortgage and has finally managed to bottle up all his rage, fear, and horror from the war deep down inside, and he's ready to celebrate by buying a third family car. And his dipshit neighbor that listens to Jefferson Airplane and wears rainbow shirts, and he's pretty sure his old lady goes over there while he's at work to smoke jazz cabbage with that limp-wristed waist. That asshole drives a Ford. Surely a Mercury will make his wife love him again. After all, people are crazy about a Mercury. And boy howdy, wouldn't I tell you, that chrome waterfall front grille, that beautiful thing on the front of the Mercury, wouldn't that just look amazing painted with your neighbor's bloody entrails while he screams for the sweet release of death beneath your Mercury as you drive it up and down the road? Anyway, you can't get away with that shit anymore. People just know too much, man. And even if they still didn't know shit, well, the middle class ain't got luxury light money anymore. You gotta trick people in different ways now. So why am I on a cross-country road trip in a 2008 Mercury Grand Marquis? Good question. That's not my car. It's Kayla's car, aka Shop Goblin. She needed a car, and she knows that yours truly has a gay, furry high schooler's hyper-specific autistic knowledge about cars that might be boring, but will definitely last a long time. So she asked me to pick her out a cheap car that would last a long time. So that's why I'm on this trip. That's why I'm driving this car across the country. It's because these cars are amazing. The Lincoln Town Car, the Ford Crown Victoria, and the Mercury Grand Marquis are on what's called the Panther platform. Full-size body-on-frame design. It's basically a truck. This is a truck. It's a truck without a truck bed. Although I used to daily a Subaru Baja, and I'm pretty sure that the trunk on the Grand Marquis and Vic is bigger than the bed on a Subaru Baja. It's the same thing I recommend with motorcycles as with anything else. The first place you want to look for reliability is something that's been in production for a super long time, because manufacturers, if they can get away with not changing anything, they don't. And the Panther platform was in continuous production from 1979 to 2012. Putting it firmly in the pantheon of the longest lived car platforms of all time. And now obviously they went through so many different iterations over the years. You know, the 302, I think that they put Ford's little 4.2 liter gas saver V8 in them in the 80s. I'm also pretty sure they were some of the last carbureted vehicles to ever be made. They were still putting a carburetor on 302s and these things all the way to the 90s in the station wagon, I believe. And of course, the one that's the most familiar to people is the one with the 4.6 liter modular V8. That single overhead camshaft workhorse that is definitely the star of the show. Now, besides all the engine and sheet metal changes, which really does make them different cars, even though they're still calling it the Panther platform, in 2003, they actually underwent a completely new frame redesign that also won a bunch of awards, by the way. I don't know, man. It's really hard to say that the car was in continuous production from 1979 to 2012. But most people, when they're talking about the Panther platform, will just lump them all together because it sounds better to say that they were in uninterrupted production from 79 to 2012. But honestly, I wouldn't say that. But that also begs the question, why the Mercury Grand Marquis? Why is this the Panther platform vehicle that I picked? Why not the Crown Victoria or the Lincoln Town Car? Aren't they just as good? Aren't they essentially the same vehicle, just rebadged? This is an easy one, and it's for three different reasons. The first reason, it's because Ford tried way harder with the Lincoln Town Car than it ever did with the Vic or the Grand Marquis. And two, it's because of the type of person who buys a Mercury in the first place. And three, it's because of what the internet, YouTube, and Facebook marketplace did to the Crown Victoria. Crown Vics are gone. Yeah, okay, I get it. They're still out there, but almost every single one is just like a used condom of a car at this point. I wouldn't even say used once either. Most Crown Victorias at this point in their life cycle are like fourth generation used Trojans stuck to a truck stop bathroom floor waiting for some dipshit to pick it up. Even before what the internet and YouTube did to Crown Victorias, the police interceptor was already a piss missile, it was already a hood rocket. But at this point, I wouldn't trust a Facebook Marketplace police interceptor to take me to the free clinic, let alone across the country. Sure, every once in a while, you can still find a Crown Vic that's in decent shape, even one that's an ex-cop car that's still in decent shape, even though the ex-police interceptors are gonna have just all this crappy, unused wiring and be really chopped up. But regardless, every once in a while, you can still get a good one, but it's getting pretty dang rare. Lincoln Town Cars, those can be amazing, but Ford loved to load them down with bullshit. So you got weird model years with proprietary electronic systems and all sorts of weird shit that Ford just threw at the wall with Lincolns that just doesn't stand the test of time. I'd probably trust a town car over a Crown Vic with a Hoonigan sticker on it, but it's still not ideal. The Mercury Grand Marquis was bought by people who still thought that they were buying a luxury car. People who had just enough extra money to spring for the Mercury instead of the Ford. The classy option. The one that's just a little bit better than your neighbors. The one where the salesman saw you coming from down the street and heard all those coins jangling in your pocket and decided he was gonna take a few extra bucks every month on your note for the car. The people who bought Mercuries, they didn't have a lot more, just enough more. Those are the type of people who own these cars. They're the type of people who change their oil religiously. They put up sunshades in their windshields. Now they do also chain smoke Misty 100s in the car with the windows up. But all I'm saying is that the type of person who worked just a little bit harder to buy a bullshit rebadged Ford is somebody who appreciates their car more because they worked harder to have something nicer. Now, whether that something was actually nicer or, just a bow tie put on a bull's ass, that's up for debate, but still, my point remains. Those are good people to buy cars from, and this is a good car to buy. On this trip, the 4.6-liter modular V8 has been getting me 23 to 24 miles per gallon since I left. If you're buying one of these, listen to the engine. Make sure it doesn't have a noisy engine. Some people didn't take care of these cars, especially Crown Vic owners. Believe it or not, I see way more Lincoln Town cars than I do Mercury Grand Marquis with noisy valve trains, because it's just something about the kind of person who buys a luxury car. Believe it or not, a lot of those guys don't take as good a care of their cars as somebody who had to work way harder for something just a little bit nicer. Now, if somebody took care of their 4.6 V8 and you take care of it as well once it comes under your care, well, that's easily a 500,000 mile motor. This car costs $3,000, and if it's properly cared for, as it was properly cared for before I took possession of it, it potentially has 300 to 400,000 more miles of life in it for $3,000. $300 to 400,000 miles if properly cared for. Yes, on the same engine. Might have to put a transmission in there at some point, but yes, that is fully possible on the same engine for $3,000. I don't know about you, but when people get excited about a cheap electric car and it costs $25,000, it blows my mind. At $3,000, there is no electric car made that could possibly compete with a $1 per mile value that a used Panther platform car can give you. It's impossible. Maybe one day in the secondary market, but right now, not a fucking chance. There might be some kind of ironic metaphor here about the rotting corpse of the American middle class, giving some sort of Kafkaesque birth to the burgeoning middle lower class as we pick up their pseudo-luxury items for ourselves, but honestly, I don't really give a fuck. I just think it's a really good car. So when Kayla asked me to find her a car that was going to last and not give her problems, this is the car I picked. I just figured I'd share that with you guys. And now back in the Wang, because I could never make a video that doesn't have motorcycles in it in some way or another. There's only 2 days left from when you're watching this. This video is coming out on Wednesday, 7 p.m. 48 hours left, and we are pulling a winner for this custom Harley-Davidson Dyna. This thing is done up to the nines, as customized by Blockhead Garage, as donated to Forgotten Angels by Zeus, God of Thunder. He donated this bike to Forgotten Angels. We're selling raffle tickets for it. Those raffle tickets also enter you to win a 2020 Milwaukee 8 Road King, also donated by Zeus. When you go to the raffle landing page, you'll see the Road King there, but that is the pool of tickets that we are picking from for the custom Dyna back here. This motorcycle is amazing. It sounds amazing. It looks great. It's fast. It handles like a dream. I can ride it comfortably, no problem. And also Shay Lisi rode it on a 1,000-mile road trip without a problem at 5 foot tall. 48 hours left. 100% of every single dollar collected from this goes directly to Forgotten Angels. And there's 2 ways to enter. Obviously, the raffle, the link to which is down below. But also, if you're not familiar with Kayla's role here, aka Dragonbot, some of you guys know her as Shop Goblin from the channel, but that's Dragonbot, Kayla, the mistress of Orion. A lot of you guys are already involved in the beta testing in Orion. It's something that I've been using quite a bit. It helps me out in my daily life to a gigantic degree, and it helps Forgotten Angels out out to a gigantic degree as well, which is why for everybody participating in the beta test of Orion, if you're signed up for that, it's $9 a month right now because it's wickedly expensive to run. There's a reason that Kayla's car budget was $3,000 at the very top end. She's putting her heart and soul into Orion, and everybody involved in the beta test with it right now is loving it as well. It's going to do amazing things. I'm not sure exactly how huge it's going to get, but I know it is something special. So if you sign up for Orion beta testing, you are also entered to win that bike. You get a free entry. Well, free. It's $9 to sign up for Orion, but the ticket's $25, and you can still buy as many tickets as you like. So you get a free ticket, not only for that Dyna back there, but also for the Milwaukee 8 Road King that we be pulling at the Forgotten Angels campout. And yes, we've confirmed that Kayla is going to make the campout. So you guys have been using Orion so much and sending her your chat logs there and fine-tuning it and turning it into the amazing thing that I know it's going to be. It's going to help so many people. Well, you'll get to meet Kayla in person at the Forgotten Angels campout. Anyway, that link's down below. Sign up for Orion. Make sure you join the Orion Discord after you sign up for it, and make sure you email Kayla your information, because in 48 hours, somebody's winning that bike. Young men and women from Forgotten Angels, these young foster kids who have nothing. They've been put out into the streets with nothing. They're homeless, teenagers, never even got a chance at life. Well, when you buy a raffle ticket for $25, not only do you get a chance to win that bike, when you support what DragonBot's doing, any of that stuff, that is going directly to help somebody who has much, much less than we do. People who never even got a chance to fail, let alone a chance to succeed. So that's what we're doing. We're giving them their first chance ever. And it feels pretty good to be able to change the world with all you weirdos out there. That's gonna about do it for this one, y'all. Till next time, well, till I see you at the camp out. Keep it weird.
Crashing through the sky comes a fearful cry. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Armies of the night, evil taking flight. Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Panic spreading far and wide. Can the world oppose the deadliest of foes? Shade tree, army. Shade tree, army. Who will risk it all to end the evil call of Shade Tree, army. Shade Tree, army. They never give up, they never say die, walking tall with banners high. Shade Tree Army, a ruthless gang of scum, villains, freaks, and bikers determined to rule the world.